from our studio in Atlantic City, and tonight from Bally's Atlantic City, I'm David Spatz, and coming up next, it's our favorite Memorial Day show. We'll go back to 2010 with our pals Penn and Teller on tonight's edition of Curtain Call, and it all starts right now. And we're back on the Atlantic City Boardwalk outside the historic Dennis Courtyard at Bally's Atlantic City, which was kind of covered up for about 40 years by what they used to call the Tacky Tiki Terrace. But Bally's took it down, let the sun shine in, and we're here with our good friends Penn and Teller.
It's a nice day.
Welcome back, guys.
Beautiful.
Good to see you.
No, we haven't been even on the East Coast for 8 years.
I know, and I was talking to your executive director, Glenn O'Reilly, about
certainly.
that, and we came to the determination that your success in Las Vegas and on television has kept you away from us.
Well, it was just, we went to Vegas in the coincidentally named Penn and Teller Theater at the Rio All Suites and Hotel and Casino, and we thought we would do the rest of those weeks coming back here and other places around the country, and then our television program, BS.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this is broadcast and we can't say that it's called Penn and Teller's BS. Bull. Yeah,
on Showtime, we're in our 7th year now, right. And I guess we got a little bit lazy, but now we're back and it's great. We played Connecticut last night. We got 3 shows here, and it's really fun to be out of Vegas for a moment.
Let's talk a little bit.
There's some humidity.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get a Vegas throat, which will be terrible for you. The series came along, BS came along, and it kind of was a surprise hit on Showtime. That's 7 years. It's the longest running series in the history of Showtime.
Yeah, I think surprise hit is maybe not right. Yeah. I think shocking.
Shocking hit.
Yeah. I think especially to Showtime.
Because of you guys.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's it's really deeply counter programming. There's no pro science shows anywhere, and ours is a pro science, pro logic show, and that's a nutty thing, and it's wonderful that so many people agree.
Season number 7 kicks off June 25th on Showtime, and I know one of the shows you're doing is about the Vatican.
Yeah, we're doing the Vatican and taxes this year, which means that 2010 will be tough for us.
But I have a feeling
big enemies.
I have a feeling that with the Vatican show, you probably kept a lot of lawyers, steadily employed trying to get that.
Well, a lot of performers and writers complain about lawyers, but I believe that the most important part of the BS team are the lawyers. We have done 7 seasons, or 6 seasons have aired, and we have not been sued once.
That was my next question, is how many times have you been sued?
We've had a lot of people, I think, that want to sue us, but we are very careful, and the stuff we say on BS is true, and we can prove it.
And you use the show to, for lack of a better term, debunk a lot of things that people take as gospel.
It also is very important, if you're doing a show called BS, to not get caught lying. And there are things we've said that I wish we said differently. There are things that weren't quite as dead on as we wanted, but our track record, thanks to the lawyers and thanks to the writers and researchers, has been very good.
Tell me about the Vatican experience. Obviously you went over there.
No, we didn't go over.
No.
There's still that restraining order with us and the Pope.
That was the last Pope, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this one's supposed to be different. Most of the stuff we send other people to do the interviews and so on. And the Vatican show is mostly about how much they've done to cover up things that are really bad and where the money goes, and also a lot of the deep hypocrisy in the banning of the use of or the not accepting the use of condoms in Africa and so on. And it's a pretty good show and pretty heavy show. And we had some pretty great people talk to us. There's an Italian comedian, this woman who is just brilliant, like Chris Rock, just that level of good, who the Vatican has been trying to put in jail. And it's we kind of follow her story a bit. It's a pretty good bit.
Once the show was established, did you have people sending you ideas of things that they would like to have exposed?
Well, you get that all the time.
Right.
You get that all the time, and we sift through. And when you build your kingdom on BS, it'll never fail. You can go forever. But we have to have it. For instance, we wanted to do over and over again. We wanted to do a TSA show. but you can't do TSA because cameras aren't allowed there, and no one will talk to you. No one will talk to you. And there's other stuff we can't do, like we can't do reality shows because you can't afford the footage. And we were going to do Scientology, but South Park beat us to it and did such a beautiful job. There's no way you're ever going to beat South Park on Mormons and Scientology. They own those subjects. So you look over them carefully and see what you can do. And also, since we've been known for a while, you'd think it'd be much harder to get people to be on, but we never lied. We don't do the Borat stuff. We don't do the Michael Moore stuff. We don't do ambush
stuff.
Yes,
I say it's not ambush television.
No, it's not. When people come on that show, they're told the name of the show that we hosted and that we disagree with them. And I like to think we pride ourselves at trying to be fair and very biased. So you know where we stand, but we try not to take anything out of context. We try to use that footage we have of people picking their noses and so on. We try to just let them be hoisted on their own petards.
Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily reality television, but it is reality.
Well, that's the category we're under. You know, it is interviews, and the people that we are interviewing and talking to are not set up and not scripted. Our stuff that we do, the wraparounds, is scripted, and the VO is scripted, of course. But the events are just interviews.
The show has been nominated for 11 Emmy Awards.
Yeah, we get nominated all the time.
That's almost 2 a year.
I think the reason that we don't win, that we just get nominated, is that they're very afraid of stating the truth on the show and saying the winner is BS.
I was going to say,
they're afraid of saying that.
And my theory is that if they did win, someone would have to say the actual name of the show on network television, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And also the truth that's implied in that the awards don't mean that much. So we've been nominated, and it's an honor to just be nominated, and that's BS.
And one of the shows from season 7, one of the shows in season 7 will be on cliches.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about the two of you and getting together. You've been together as Penn and Teller in one form or another for 35 years.
Yeah.
Most marriages don't last 35 days anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And we had talked about this a few weeks ago. You think one of the reasons is because you're not what they call BFF, best friends forever.
Yeah, we started out as a partnership to do shows, and feeling that we did better stuff together than we did separately. And so I think when you have partnerships that are essentially love affairs, Martin and Lewis and Lennon and McCartney are the two examples. I guess it's that L&M initial thing. But
they fell in love with each other,
absolutely.
Right?
And so when they started to have other parts of their lives come in and girlfriends and families, it was really heartbreaking, I think. And we started out wanting to have very separate lives and just working together. We work together all the time. We're together certainly more than most married couples are together and talking, but it's always with a goal. And I think when you have a goal, and that's the most important thing, if we happen to not be getting along for a little while, there's still the show to do, and that's more important. And when you both have the show more important than the relationship gets easier.
The show becomes the great equalizer then.
Yeah, the show, it gets easier.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about the show.
Sure.
And you guys have spent years, you're always developing new material. You've got 5-6 hours?
I think it's much more than that now, but certainly 5 hours that's, ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And how do you decide when you're out in Vegas, obviously you stick with the show for 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so?
I guess so. There's no rules like that. It's all rules based on what we want to do. So if we have a bit that we're writing and putting in and it seems to be swinging and we like it, we throw it in. And then there's always a domino effect. You take one thing out, put another thing in, then you got to change the whole show around it. So we pull out stuff. There's stuff we throw in that we haven't done for 20 years, and we'll put it in because it looks good with the new stuff, And
you have to practice. You must have to practice.
Yeah, we practice, we rehearse, we write. We do all that stuff. But the nutty thing is that conventional wisdom in Vegas is you don't have to change the show. People put the show in. They don't even live in Vegas. They put the show in and they just move away. way. You know, it's not like New York where there's really, but we don't do that. We believe we're still doing the show. We write the show and do it. So if we've got a new idea, we throw it in, and it's
well, that makes it fresh for you guys. I mean,
yeah,
you can't do the same show every night.
Well, we could, and I know we don't like to take anything out of the show because we're sick of doing it. It's because we want. It's always approach. It's not avoidance. Because I think there's some, the vaudeville guys, and some of them were friends of ours. They'd write a show when they were 16, and they'd still be doing it at 60 years old. The same 12 minutes. And there's something you get when you've done a bit thousands of times that you can't possibly get dozens of times. So we like to make sure, we did the show last night in Connecticut, and there was a bit that Teller did, Needles, which he'll be doing here in Atlantic City, that he was doing before we worked together. Probably, 40 years he's been doing that. And I tell you, there's brand new stuff in the show, but also seeing something on stage that someone has done for 40 years, there's another level of beauty on that you can't get. There's no cheap, fast way to do it.
And as performers, though, you have to kind of do your greatest hits. It would be like Frank Sinatra had to sing New York, New York, But are there any things that you guys have to do? Like the Shadow Flower, for instance?
Well, we always seem to. I think we've done, maybe a handful of shows without it. But it's not so much that we put it in because people would demand it, which they would, but just because Teller's still getting better at it and we still love it. I think it all has to come down to that. I get so... it's so sad to go see an act, especially a music act, that had a wonderful hit, and they no longer respect it or like it. There's a very deep insult to that when they kind of give it lip service. Why should we like it if you don't bother? And I have to say, and I forgive me if this sounds conceited or something, but we like this stuff in our show, and even the really old stuff we like.
I wouldn't think that would be conceited. That's just pride in your work.
We're proud of that stuff. So.
Are there any stunts that you guys have tried to do that you just couldn't get?
Well, yeah, but they fall away so quickly we don't remember them. They usually fall away. We meet at Starbucks, we talk all afternoon, and during one of those sessions, probably 15 or 20 ideas come up, and we just kind of go, nah, for one reason or another. There's a very few things that we've gotten all the way to putting it on stage and thought that something would click, and it really kind of doesn't. We do those a few nights, and then they fall away. There was a bit we did with turning Teller into a duck in misdirection that just wasn't that good. Didn't say the stuff we wanted to say, and we pulled it out. And there's other stuff we've put in that there's a bit we'll be doing tonight and this weekend called Cowboy that we put in as kind of a light little thing that we thought was going to develop into something else, and ended up really landing very heavily on an idea that we'd never done anything like it before, and it seems really, really different. And I was very happy to see, because we'd only done it in Vegas, we did it in Connecticut last night. It was probably the strongest reaction in the whole show. It probably did better than the War Horses. Well, and that's always when something you write after you've been together for 35 years is playing as well as stuff you wrote 35 years ago. That's very hopeful.
Do you find that there are some tricks or stunts that go better in certain markets than they do in Vegas?
I don't think there's much of a different market nowadays. The America, because of television, radio, internet, and how mobile we are, there really isn't the regional differences that there used to be, I think even 20 years ago. There's some difference in Vegas because more people buy their ticket the day of the show, so people know a little less about us and have been a little less jacked up about it. We come back like this, a lot of the tickets were sold very far in advance. So that's more time people thinking about you. And so the first few bits outside of Vegas, when we're playing on the road, get a little bigger response. But at the end of the show, it's pretty much the same.
What is it like? What would you rather perform for? A house full of people that have been following you for 25 years, or a house full of people who have never seen you before?
Well, I'm not one to quote the Police, but Sting said when they did their first tour of the U.S., it was really a thrill because they knew something no one else knew, and that was that they were good. And I remember when we first played off Broadway, and people, there's something you said about the Beatles, that they were good until you could tell them apart. And when we first played off Broadway, People didn't know which one was Penn, which one was Teller. And we would come out, and when we would come out, we entered through the audience. People didn't even know the show was starting, or it was us. And there was a wonderful feeling of this kind of tentative reaction from the audience. And then about the second or third bit, all these people, and they were the people that would go to see every show, so they saw a lot of stuff that was bad, would kind of relax into this, they're okay, and kind of go from there. And I remember we went to Broadway, and then we went over to England. And in England, we were completely unknown. We started doing these shows, and I remember it having that same kind of feeling. So I'm afraid, maybe it's because I'm from New England, that given my absolute druthers, I think I prefer a little bit to surprise people that were good. Then it's wonderful to just walk out on stage and get huge applause and acceptance without doing anything. That's a wonderful feeling, but it's also nice to have people go, hey, they're okay.
And just for the record, I know that the folks in New York like to take responsibility for like starting you out and saying that you started in New York, but the truth is you started in
Philadelphia.
Thank you.
Philadelphia, Walnut Street, Theater 5 is where all of Penn and Teller goes back to. And Teller's hometown, Center City, Philadelphia. I'm from Massachusetts, sorry, but Teller's from Philly, and that's absolutely where we started. I was only referring to off Broadway, and then we first had the whole show together, all done, and people still didn't know who we were. But Philadelphia learned about. I mean, we were doing shows in Philadelphia in '75, right? Yeah, 75 we're doing shows in Philadelphia. So you can't go a little further back than that.
Hey, I know you guys got to get over to Harrah's, get set up for tonight's show.
Yeah.
Penn, Gillette, I want to thank you so much.
Wonderful talking to you.
Teller, a pleasure speaking with you too.
Kind of looking around to find the exact right person for this. We'll take one of yous to do this. Let me see who we have. People are waving at me. I want to pick the exact right person here for this. Let's go. You get a badge though. You're not working with us though, are you? No. How tall are you about?
5'7".
5'7"? Yeah, I think. What's your name?
Kim.
Kim. Can you crawl under here, Kim? Can you crawl under here, Kim? Get over here, Kim. Now, Kim, just take a step up on here.
Okay.
And sit down on the board, facing the cameras over there, Kim. Now, Kim, there's an East Indian word, fakir, F-A-K-I-R. Are you familiar with that word at all?
No.
Okay, the definition usually given is that that's the East Indian word for street performer.
Okay.
But, in our country, street performers are often just, 5 guys with a radio and a piece of cardboard. But in India, these are the guys that like charm snakes with flutes, swallow swords, eat fire, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is possible, Kim?
Yes. I do, Penn.
Good. Swing your feet around, lie back where you are, would you please, Kim? Right back here. Yeah, and just scoot away from me a little bit. Scoot just means move. It's a demonic term. Right back here. And give me the full weight of your head in my hands.
Okay.
Relax your neck. Your head has to be heavier than that. Relax. Good. Now hold your hands, Kim, as though you were holding the sky away, okay?
Okay.
That way, if the sky happens to fall during this bit, you're the only one who's prepared, okay?
Okay, gotcha.
However, in the much more likely event nowadays of a nuclear holocaust, this hand position will not amount to jack, okay? Teller's going to push down your hands. When he does, push back up against him, Kim.
Okay.
Don't win, just resist. He's a little guy. Feel that tension in your arms, Kim? Mm-hmm. Want you to keep that tension when he takes his hands away. Keep pushing against nothing, and keep your neck relaxed. A little bit difficult that way, okay? Let me take your glasses off here, if I may. And I'm just going to ask you to just close your eyes, not for meditation purposes or concentration, just so you're not looking directly up my nose. Now think about every muscle you need to move and exactly how much you need to move each muscle. When I say lift your feet 3 inches into the air and hold them there, okay? Kim, lift. A little higher. Hold, and relax. Right back down. Those Pilates are worth every penny. Don't ever quit them. Leave your hands in position, eyes closed, let your head fall right back here. Give me just a moment to make your hair look really bitchin'. Good, you're doing great. I want to take 3 deep breaths while I count them, okay? First breath, inhale. Hold. Exhale. Second breath, a little bit slower. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Beautiful. Third breath, even a little slower. Inhale. Hold and exhale. Keep breathing a little bit slower, a little bit deeper than you used to. Just think about your breathing. That'll happen almost automatically. Okay, Kim? Kim, I got you. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to lift your feet again. When I do this time, there might be applause. Don't worry about any applause or laughter. Concentrate the weight in your hands. Keep breathing evenly and regularly. Keep your hands in position. Keep your eyes closed. Head back. Head back. Keep breathing evenly, very slowly, just like before. Lift your feet again, Kim. A little bit higher, Kim. A little bit higher, Kim. A little bit higher. A little bit higher. A little bit higher, Kim. Right there, Kim. Hold, 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 hold. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. And relax, Kim. We got you. Relax. Just give me a moment to get all the swords and snakes out of the way. Okay, Kim, sit up, face the audience. Now, Kim, you got any idea what happened to you there?
No.
I'll tell you, Kim, I was watching. Was
it good?
It was boss.
All
it was
right.
boss. We did this experiment in teleportation. It's a picture of you taken 2 minutes ago in Cleveland, Ohio, Kim.
All right.
Let me help you down
Excellent.
here, Kim.
Thank
you.
you.
You don't uncomfortable?
Have my
You dizzy at all?
glasses?
Oh, your glasses. Tell you got your glasses. That's how we.
Thank
that's
you
how we
so
copy.
much.
Thanks so much. Watch
Thank
your
you.
step here, Kim.
Thanks.
That's Kim there. Kim. Get back there. That's Kim there. My name is Penn Teller, partner Teller. We're Penn and Teller.